You know, as I get older, I often think back to periods in my life where things just felt right. I don't know, things like playing Xbox all night with my friends or scoring touchdowns in the big game, which didn't happen very often because I play defense, but I did have a pick six, so it's not a complete fantasy. I don't know, but things like that, like the family vacations I took every single year. I just have so many good memories that every time I think back on them, I wish I can go back and experience them one more time. Unfortunately, I can't, because that's just how life works. No matter how much I wish I can go back, no matter how much you wish you can go back, we just can't. Our memories and our experiences can't be changed. Those things are all set in stone while life just continues to move forward all around us. Our perspectives may change, or our ideas might change, and the paths in front of us may wind in completely different directions. However, they will not go backwards. I've been doing a lot of thinking and soul searching recently regarding my anxiety, my depression, and just my overall mental health. And I'd be lying if I said life was perfect all the time. I mean, the truth is, most of the time it's not. I have worked my ass off my entire life to get to where I'm at right now, to get a degree, to get a job, to find love and make friends and to save money and build a YouTube empire, even though we don't have many people yet. It's getting there. But even with all these incredible things in my life, sometimes my brain still chooses to ignore all of it, and it sends me into this spiraling deep sea of dark thoughts. And at times it gets so hard to ignore these thoughts. It's like, hey, you got a good job, right? Well, that's dope. Well, here's some depression. Hey, you're going out with your friends this week, right? Sick. Okay, here's a panic attack. You think you have your life under control, don't you? That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Now let's overthink it. It's crazy because our brains are so powerful, but really they're just powerful assholes. I have spent the last 5 years of my life trying my absolute hardest to return to normal. And what I mean by normal is the way I felt before I was diagnosed with all these mental health disorders. It's just life seemed so easy back then. I just did whatever I wanted because my brain wasn't holding me back. And now my body just feels heavy and there's some unknown force in the atmosphere that just clouds my mind. This whole time I just convinced myself that if I could somehow return to the way things were before my anxiety and depression came into my life, everything would be perfect. I had a bright future ahead of me. I mean, I was smart, I was outgoing, I could pretty much do whatever I wanted. I used to pride myself on being the guy that was invited to everything and anything because I could always find a way to open up my schedule and show face at every event. I just wanted to be where the action was because I genuinely enjoyed being around other people and I felt fulfilled every time I can cross an event off my calendar. Parties, friends, dinners, all of it. It all faded so quickly because I spent most of my days locked in my room trying to avoid another panic attack. And eventually days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months and I slowly watched my life fade away from me as the world moved on around me. My brain has changed and it took me years to figure that out, but it doesn't work the way it used to. I have tried so hard to fight this thought since the beginning of my diagnosis, but I think now it's time to finally admit it. That super social butterfly I once knew is just gone. And I've realized that functioning has been so hard for me because I still think the way I did 5 years ago before I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I mean, I constantly have to stop myself from thinking what my life would be like if I never had that first panic attack. I mean, what if I just moved on and it never held me back? I mean, how successful could I really be right now? I bet I would still have friends, and I think going out would be a pretty big part of my schedule. Honestly, it's just been a tough few years full of what ifs and disappointments, but it is getting better. I'm less anxious and depressed now than I have been since my first panic attack. I went from having 2 to 3 panic attacks a day to having maybe 2 to 3 a year. I've actually gone out and had dinners with my friends. I'm enjoying date nights. However, I still think back to that hopeful kid I once was who had a vision. A vision that didn't include having anxiety and depression. It sucks that this stuff got in the way of his dreams, but I hope surviving and just getting better would be enough for him because really, it's been enough for me. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that living with a mental health disorder means that you're never going to be the person that you once were, but that's okay. I truly think a majority of the struggles that we face with our mental health comes from the hope that we can someday return to the normal that we once felt, but we can't. The harder we try to enter our old life, the more likely we are to burn up. It's kind of like when an object enters Earth's atmosphere, like when a rock comes in through space and it hits the atmosphere, it starts to burn up. Even if it makes it through the atmosphere, by the time it hits the ground, it's not going to be the same rock it was before it entered. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we don't need to force a re-entry into our old lives because we're just gonna burn up. It's time for us to develop a new path. It's time to admit that you're a new person who's ready to accept that life is going to be different from here on out. Your mental health doesn't need to slow you down or prevent you from living life because it's a part of you now. Once I realized I'd never be the same, I actually found a sense of relief. Before, I thought this was a bad thing. I woke up one day and I was afraid because the person I thought I'd become didn't exist. Instead, I actually became somebody that my younger self never would have imagined. And I love who I am, I really do. It's time to accept yourself for who you are. Let those memories we have exist in the past and let's go make some new ones in this life we have now. Any mental health disorder is hard to live with, but sometimes it's important for you to reteach and embrace your worth. Life just moves forward and so should we. So just embrace it. Embrace the fact that we're not going to return back to that life that we once assumed was the only normal. I mean, at this point, why would you want to? Because the possibilities in this life are endless. We now have this opportunity to approach life with a whole new view. Yeah, you know what? I've got anxiety, I've got depression, I've got a lot of issues, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop me from living my life. Now I get to create a whole new life for myself that incorporates incorporates this stuff because it's a part of me now. And it's not about learning how to be that social butterfly I once was, it's learning how to be the social butterfly I can be now. Just because I won't be an exact copy of the person I was before doesn't mean I can't incorporate some of that stuff in my new life. I still want to go out and see friends. I still want to have a girlfriend. I still want to love life, and that's not going to stop me just because I have these mental health issues. I am Tim Black, and yeah, I've got anxiety, I've got depression, hell, I've got a lot of stuff in my life that's a little less desirable to most people, but that doesn't mean I have to be miserable. I'm learning to accept the fact that I'm a whole new person, and while I do love the person I was before, this is a chance for me to be an even better person than that. And I'm not going to let any of this stuff get in the way of doing that, and I encourage you to do the exact same thing. So take what you will from this video, but I think it's time for me to go create some memories and embrace who I am now. I suggest you guys do the same thing. I love every single one of you. I will see you next week.